trying to teach us about peace.
We don't have to retaliate with anger. We retaliate with love. That's why we're down here. There's always another one. That's all I want to see.
Today, the World Health Organization officially calling it a pandemic. None of us is unaffected by its impact.
We're going to try everything that we can to keep life as normal as possible for everybody. If we get into an environment like this, it's going to spread like fire. We're going to go, this is going to be back stronger than ever before.
The number of people that we joined cannot be done right now.
Coming in November, people are going to be voting not for a person, but for the vote.
I have to find a hero. How does it work?
We don't prepare for giving birth to a pandemic.
I'm Shemaine. Join me as we go into America to hear from
Everyday people grappling with the most pressing issues of our time.
We'd like to think that we live in some sort of post-racial America. We're reminded time and time again that we do not.
Chanel, I reached out to you after I watched the Mayor of Atlanta act as a mom trying to raise her son, and I think about you and your kids.
I remember her coming home saying, why don't I have a ponytail like the white girls? It's okay to notice that you're different. You just have to not feel less than. That's my thing.
I cherish the fact that we can have these discussions. I feel safe talking about this with you guys.
You're watching NBC News Now. We've got some breaking news.
Well, we actually saw a large convoy of the National Guard come through here.
It's news made for your streaming world. Live weekdays, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern.
A real catastrophe happening here in Brazil before our very eyes.
Our global fight against it unites us.
Here in Mexico City, the people I spoke to said if they don't work, they're not going to be able to feed their families.
Our NBC News and Sky teams are on the ground, learning from where it's been.
The South Korean government is bringing students back over the next couple of weeks in stages.
So that you can better understand how it will impact us here.
Life across Italy is back to normal. It just doesn't look like the same normal as before.
The only thing we have to
These are the United States, a united people with a united purpose.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation.
All of us can extend a hand to those in need.
Police in San Francisco will no longer be used to respond to non-criminal activity. The decision, part of several new policing reforms announced today by the city's mayor. NBC News correspondent Jacob Ward joins me now from Oakland, California. Jake, can you walk us through what some of these new policing reforms look like?
Gotti, you know, this was another instance in which San Francisco is sort of stepping ahead of the rest of the country. You saw it with coronavirus. We were some of the first, one of the first regions to enact shelter-in-place orders, and now moving very fast
to respond to this moment of national recognition of systematic racism and what we're going to do about it.
In this case, Mayor London Breed and Police Chief William Scott basically came out and said that they are going to try to radically change the way that San Francisco does its policing, beginning with redirecting funding to community programs, to actually have a police chief saying, we are going to do that and we are in favor of it, taking away money from the department and giving it to other programs. That was pretty amazing. Plus a reduction in the militarization of the police, not using military-style equipment and tactics. San Francisco prides itself on not deploying tear gas in protest situations, not using stun grenades, but they do use things like baton, foam rounds, and so forth, so they're going to be taking a look at pulling back from that. And then this is the really interesting one, is the moving of 911 response from armed officers every single time to, in the case of calls around things like homelessness, which is not a crime, or things like a mental health crisis, which in the past has led to as much as 50% of fatal police shootings in the U.S., all of that will be handled by outside experts. So 911 will instead be a sort of incoming dispatch for much more than just armed police. What Chief Scott says is that suddenly they will be referring them to outside agencies, the public health agencies and others to get involved and respond in that way. So truly a fundamental change to how policing could work in San Francisco.
And when will these reforms go into effect? How soon could we see different people other than police dispatched?
You know, I think we're seeing all these municipalities moving so fast. I mean, right, you have Andrew Cuomo announcing yesterday that he's going to, make funding contingent on police reform. You're seeing the New York City Council reportedly announcing today that they are going to move to withdraw about $1 billion from NYPD. Everybody's moving very fast. There's no specific timeline put on this, but there's obviously a feeling of pressure right now. I actually spoke to the police chief, San Francisco Police Chief Scott, today, and he said, we welcome this pressure. We need this pressure. We can't get this done alone. So there's really a feeling of momentum here, but the specific timetable has not yet been established.
And out of Minneapolis, we're seeing talk of dismantling the police. You've been interviewing police reform experts. How do the reforms you're seeing in San Francisco fit in with some of the national standards that are in mind, and how do they fit in with the questions over defunding police departments?
Well, this is really the big thing, right? People talk about defunding the police in this sort of blanket way, and it's not clear whether they mean literally abolishing law enforcement, which hasn't been the case, since the 17th century in the United States. If we're talking instead about maybe limiting the role of police to only, a very specific armed response kind of idea, or whether we're talking about expanding the role of police, hiring social workers and mental health professionals into a uniformed role. These are the things being hashed out right now. Certainly what I hear from the criminal justice experts I talk to is that reform has to involve some national standards. I mean, the thing, Gotti, about police in the United States is they are essentially their own kingdoms. It is a free market of 18,000 police departments across the country, each one making up its own rules. The only reason that any two police departments, in any way resemble each other have to do with either attending the same conventions and conferences or the Constitution. There's really no oversight at a federal level. And so, in this case, San Francisco is enacting things that national leaders have really called for, and the academic experts have called for. The changing of a sort of, hammer meets nail kind of response so that mental health experts can get involved instead. The coming up with a way of reporting data up through into some sort of national database, which is the big thing that's missing. All of that data around use of force, who gets stopped, how often, what is the ethnic makeup of the people being stopped. That stuff is not kept on any sort of national level in a way that satisfies the academic when I study it. And then this thing of the demobilization of the police. These are definitely big things that even the most ardent activists have been angling for a long time. So San Francisco, it's not a comprehensive package. So there's a lot of work to do in achieving that, but a really important first step from a pretty progressive city out in the West Coast.
Thanks so much for staying on top of it for us.
Thanks.
Georgia's hometown of Houston, trying to keep his memory alive. NBC News correspondent Dan Lieberman spoke with Floyd's inner circle about how they intend to honor his legacy. Here's a preview of his story for the NBC News Quibi show, The Report.
What do you think George would make of this moment?
For me personally, knowing him and the heart that he had, he would be proud. He wasn't really for violence, but I do understand that some circumstances across the world, you have a lot of people abusing the